Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is a place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether it's a one-person shop or you're leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my brother, the honorary Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology, who made me an honorary Uncle Smith this past weekend. Rick, how you
Hey,
doing this
Uncle
fine
Paco.
Tuesday night? How you doing this fine Tuesday night?
I'm doing good. I'm recuperating from our weekend. I'm still exhausted, but I'm doing good. Feeling good.
Oh, it was
How
a
about you?
bender, all right. Oh, it was a bender. I'll tell you what. Because only me, as a foolish man, would schedule an on-site at 8:30 in the morning at the day after we finished that event. So I was tired, my friend, tired because
I can
we were
believe
up
it.
to all kinds of shenanigans over this weekend. And for those that don't know, you missed a very great TechCon Unplugged Chicago 2022. We'll get to this in a minute, but yeah, man, how do you think it went this past weekend? What did you
Well,
think?
I'm always going to be my own worst critic, so
Okay.
I'm always looking for room of improvement. But I will say this: from the face-to-face feedback we've gotten, things people seem to think things went good, and as we always say, our goal was to make sure that everyone, whether they're a returning member or they're new, that they at least gain something from TechCon to take back to their business to help them improve. So it is my hope that everyone did that. I did get a lot of feedback from people that they were glad they attended. Some said this is the best one they've had. Hopefully that's true, but it was fun, but it was exhausting.
Oh, it was exhausting as nobody's business as I just spilled some water all over me. But yeah, I as everyone knows, this episode is going to be a recap on TechCon Unplugged this past weekend. Talk about kind of the learning lessons, things we found, collaborations, feedback we received. Um, all in all, like you said, I think we had such a great opportunity for all of us to get back together, right? And we had the chance to really speak to a lot of people either new that came for the first time, which again, we appreciate the support, and a lot of returning people that came back. Um, this is our third time doing this. This is actually the first time me and Rick did it. Um, we want to kind of do it a little bit different this year. We introduced a couple new things that we hoped stuck well with the attendees, the community. From this past weekend, Rick, what was probably one of the things that you loved the most?
Well, again, I love the camaraderie. I love, for everyone who's there, my kids were there, and I'm kind of an introvert. So they always tease me about not having many friends or not being very social. So
Mhm.
for them to see me in an environment where I am social, where I do know people, where I do have friends. I mean, let's not get it wrong. I have friends here too. I just don't spend as much time out as they probably think I should. But, I think I really enjoy the camaraderie. I enjoy just again, meeting up with making new friends, meeting up with old friends, just talking to people, learning. Um, it was just a good time. I thought that some of the presentations that I did get to see were great. I personally, I'm wondering what the audience thinks, but I'm personally was a big fan of the breakouts. I thought they went well, and I thought the presenters were awesome. And I think every topic that was presented was relevant. And I wish I could have saw them all, but I just couldn't just because of the logistics of us having to make sure everything was running smoothly. But we did get a lot of good feedback from that. So I do want to thank Tom, uh, Matt Lee, Diana Giles. That was Tom Bowl, the first one. I'm sorry. Matt Lee, Diana Giles, John Dubinsky, and I'm forgetting someone. Who is it?
Marvin?
Marvin as the MC. I was just talking about the breakout session people.
Oh, sorry. Matt Lee.
Yes, and Matt Lee.
Yep.
Live show
So,
people, and we're tired, so all the names don't come.
yeah,
Jason.
Jason Miller.
Jason Miller. I am so sorry. And you know why I probably forgot Jason? Because his session I wanted to see twice. I sat in on this the second time,
Mhm.
got there late because something happened, got a few minutes of it in, got text out because something was going on and needed my attention, went back in, got called out again, and I felt bad, so I didn't go back again because I didn't want to keep, disturbing the room. But from what I understand, the feedback I got, it was a very good session as well. So thank you to all of the people who presented in the breakout sessions. Thanks to everyone. I know it's a long list and I'll screw it up, so I won't do the rest of them. But thanks for everyone participating in the panels, and the content committee. Everyone. It's a group effort. A group. It's all done for us, by us. Paco and I have our names on the top, but it really can't happen without everyone else's participation. No one's like, hey, I need you to, you call someone, ask them, hey, can you help? Or would you be willing to do this? And Paco, correct me if I'm wrong, no one said no. So, that's what the community is all about. And that's what I really appreciate. Paco might be thinking of someone who said no, but
I feel like someone told me negative, but I'm trying to remember who it was, and I'm gonna call them out too. But no, I don't think anyone, so glad to find out breakout sessions is the one thing you love for the weekend. I think that we definitely had, like I said, a lot of things to offer throughout the weekend. We actually asked quite a few people that were community influencers, or per se, or people that have given in the community to help us out. And more importantly, we could not have thrown this without some key people as we tried to figure out how do we make this TechCon a little bit different, right? And so what you just led to was the breakout sessions. We had 4 breakout sessions that occurred on both days that were really relevant, at one, for the time, but 2, we wanted to make it actionable information. We wanted to have 2 that were business owner focused, and we wanted to have 2 that really was tangible, that if a business was bringing a technician or another operations person or someone, that they would get a lot of value out of it. We had some others. We decided to pick these 4 from of the long list of breakout sessions that we tried to survey and hear from the community, from other feedback and things of that nature. But a lot of this could not have been done without our content committee. I think our content committee was really driven on the focus of really giving back.
Definitely.
And some names, like you already mentioned, there was Jason Miller, there was Brian Morris, Joe Kanazovich, and also Ron Cervantes, really giving us their mornings every week as we try to figure out how do we make this not only something to just have for everybody, but also that they're going to learn from and take it back with them. And the great piece about this year's TechCon is we've now built out a path of having to continue the conversation. And one of those sessions being the cybersecurity stack discussion on understanding what everybody was using. We saw it on the screen, what everyone was using, and how do we go ahead and start diving into everyone and understanding how to have a conversation. And what we tried to do was try to connect people, not only utilizing some of those same similar services, but finding out that they're like-minded, same size business, and that's the thunder outside. Feeling outside that they can go ahead and connect with one another. So that was an amazing opportunity for us. We really appreciate those 4's efforts, really trying to figure out how to make it a little bit different this year. I think my personal favorite, at least from this year, was the ability to have not only the breakout sessions, but also changing it up with our socials. We, in the past, we always had the Friday night social at the hotel, as everyone was kind of greeted to come in, and then we would have the Saturday night social. We took a gamble this year to have 2 off-site socials just to see kind of how it would go. I personally regret all the decisions of alcohol that had happened consumed that night, both nights, but I think everyone really appreciated the change of pace. I think everyone really loved the ability to really network and have more open space to kind of talk to each other. And hopefully when we send out that the attendee survey here by the end of the week, to really get more feedback on kind of what's happening and kind of going from there. outside of kind of what you hear as far as the breakout sessions and things like that, was there anything that you really that really stuck to you? I know you mentioned the optimizing the Wi-Fi, but was there anything that you felt was a tangible detail that you were able to take back with you, whether it was a conversation with a vendor, conversation with a peer? Was there anything that you felt was an experience that now you able to take back outside of you just running around and us trying to figure out how to make this show keep going with the wheels on?
I'll tell you two things. One, I participated in the onboarding, offboarding conversation with along with Henry Tim, and thank you, Henry. And some of the ideas. This is the great thing, Henry presented the framework, that they use. I kind of spoke to what I do, but what we got some in having the conversation and some of the questions that were asked. It gave me some further ideas and some further ways to better the process for me, and seeing how Henry approaches it and hearing some of his ideas. It also it gave me that extra step to look things to help improve my process, because the whole point of it is not being stagnant, not thinking your way is the only way. If you have an open mind, you'll gain some knowledge. And I think from that, being as close to it as I was, I think that was really good. I will say, and I was in and out of a lot of the presentations just because of some of the other things we had, the logistical things we had to do to make sure everything was rolling. So that I'm trying to think what stands out to me. I do think too, I had some very good conversations with some vendors. Just in, again, I think I mentioned this in the closing ceremony, but the vendors are a wealth of knowledge, and it's more than just, what their product does or how their product can help you or, save you. And I just say that as a sarcasm, but they have a wealth of knowledge. Some of them are former MSPs, some of them have just been in the industry and they just understand, what we go through, that they understand the channel and they understand it, and they have some very good insight as to things that can help your business, whether you're using their product or not. So I had some very good conversations with some people about that. I'll say two that really stood out to me was talking to Ethan Tancredo over at the Huntress booth, and also talking to Chris Keith over at the Zorus booth. And also Derek at Augment. Those conversations, and this is not to say, not to shy away from anyone else's, any other conversation I had. This is that you asked what stood out in my mind. So those conversations I had with them just about business and business growth, which were not necessarily related to their product, which I really appreciate. So those were, some of the good things those are things that stood out for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think like you mentioned, unfortunately I also had to, obviously we had to run around, and you never get to enjoy your own party, right? Is the phrase. But I was lucky enough to have my team there and sit in on quite a few of the sessions, the pockets,
Paco in the pockets.
and so being able to have them, including John into the pockets, right? Being able to understand quite a few of them, I think from John's perspective, him being able to sit in on that incident response pre-day really opened up our eyes on quite a few things. We still haven't had a debrief on what those things are, but it really was showing on we are nowhere near done, and you should never think that you're done, but it's to a point where now, because of these type of things, you get to learn, you have to understand and kind of grow. And just the biggest piece for us too is that learning that we need to get to good and not get overshadowed on getting to better and then great, and just trying to understand how do you get to those pieces, because a lot of people want to get here, but a message that John has mentioned even before the show is like, how do you get to good, right? Like, can you just get to good? And we're there probably 80 to 90% better than what a lot of other IT solution provider and managed service providers are trying to do, right? Get to good, prove you can do something, then get it better, right? I think we get lost in trying to get all these things together, and that's what the incident response and MSP's worst day kind of showed us. And and I truly appreciate Cyber Matt Lee being able to come in, help us out with that, along with Ethan over at Huntress. Matt is, for all transparency, Matt Lee did this as a favor to us. Matt Lee said, hey, I want to be able to come back. Do you think we should do what we did last year? Talking with Huntress, who became involved later on, this was an opportunity for him to do something he's always wanted. And one, grateful to be able to give him the platform so he can test this out and really go through this whole process. But the amount of feedback that I got from his session was their heads were spinning, right? And trying to figure out and understand that. So, Matt, if you're listening to this, appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you being able to do that for us. And
Thank
that was
you,
probably one of the top sessions that I heard from this past weekend from those that were in attendance. The other sessions that I heard really well from my team were, Rachel Miller's accounting best practices was really eye-opening for my office coordinator, along with Tom Bull's taking the leap with employees, and that his entire session and my customer success manager really trying to dive in and understanding. And I think the best piece that we talked about earlier in the show is that everyone has always said to everyone there, we can continue the conversation. Reach out to them. Let's go ahead and have a conversation. Let's continue to kind of go from there. And that's what the community is all about, right? I think there were a lot of hopefully new relationships that were formed that were at that tables. And hopefully that a lot of people brought and gave a lot of value as they kind of sat through. But that's kind of what stuck out to me from what I've heard. Apparently there's a lot more work that's going to be happening in my business, and I will have to listen to those debriefs here soon for this week. But as you mentioned, trying to catch up with all that and kind of go from there. So those are kind of two of the big things that we that came to mind for me, and really understanding on what that going on. But I'd be amiss to say how entertaining and how well did the schedule flow if it wasn't for Marvin.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, and we invited Marvin for two reasons. One, because Marvin was the host over at the Unconvention DC that was held by Instant House Call and Tech Marketing Engine at the time, and they really drove that hosting of the event. And he did such a great job. He was entertaining, and I always knew that we needed to bring him back to do that job because it was only with his style and his flair being able to do so. And he rocked it out of the park. He made the attendees were engaged. They loved what he was offering. He provided value as he helped moderate and try to keep the schedule going. Another person over that we just could not have done this without Marvin B over at IT Business Podcast for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing about Marvin is we asked him to do it. He said, sure. And then Marvin, as you also know, he made his shirts. He put the video together for us. But and he wanted to know what was going on, but you have to give Marvin very little instructions, right? He knows how to make it work. He knows how to make it happen. He followed the agenda, but he put his little bit of entertainment in between, and I think it just kind of helped to keep everything flowing right, keep everyone's attention. And I do think it was a great show. And you did say something that I feel terrible about, because the only full event I got to sit down in a breakout session was Tom Bull, and I don't think I was one of the people who's screaming to you. That was really good. Was Tom Bull's session, so I do want to give Tom a shout out and thank him as well. But
you telling me you didn't sit in my pricing and packaging workshop? You were running around.
Everybody needed food. I was working on food at your time. But those are the things, and I guess for all of us, even myself included, having been to this being my third TechCon, and I'm not saying this. Well, actually, no, I am saying this for this reason, that you never can appreciate all the work that goes into it until you actually have to do it. So for you guys, for you, Paco, John, Jeff, who've done it in the past, Marvin, Corey, and Matt. And I hope I'm not missing anybody. Mike Smith too, I believe. It was a lot of work, and you guys started this. We're trying to keep the tradition going. I'm a part of this because I met you guys in DC, and immediately wanted to, was drawn to just staying in the community and helping any way I could. But it's a great show. I love, I just love the fact that we got everyone who could make it came. I hope that everyone has a has had a positive experience with it. And when we do get the surveys out, I do beg of you, be honest. If there's some things we need to improve on, tell us that. There's some things we missed the boat on. Tell us that. If it sucked to you, tell us that. We just need to know,
I
because
don't want to
again,
hear that. No, I'm kidding.
I want to know, because I need to know where we
No,
can where we can improve. And I know you feel the same way, but we
yeah,
just we have to, as we grow with this, we want, is, again, for us, by us. So, this doesn't work if the audience, if the community is not a part of it and the community is not heard. So again, when you do get those surveys, I implore you to fill them out with honesty. Um, yeah, I have a little bit of an ego and I have feelings, and some things may hurt, but I'll get over it. I'll get over it, and I'll improve, and and we'll improve. So, give us your honest feedback on that. I appreciate it.
Well, one thing you kind of mentioned, and this is something that shows on us listening to the feedback of the community. There were actually a few changes that made
Yeah.
that we actually changed, and we actually switched up. We changed a couple sessions that were going up. We added a new breakout session on Sunday. Everyone was enamored and really took in a lot of the value from Liz Pifko over at Corvinus Law, that we had to add a Q&A session for Sunday, because a lot of people really wanted to talk to her more, and just of all the information that was provided, that she had provided. And she agreed, and she sat down for an hour, and quite a few MSPs were in the breakout sessions, just kind of picking her brain and talking and trying to chat up. And appreciate Liz staying extra and coming out for us, because after her presentation. And then really we just were able to adjust some of the sessions, that either we switched them up on sessions of morning and night, adding new people to certain sessions, because we felt that they would have the better value to provide to the audience. It really worked out in the end on how we were being able to be flexible to kind of change some of those topics, and just the overall value providing to the audience as well. So I thought that was pretty cool from what you had said. You had mentioned a couple vendors you spoke with that really stuck with you, and kind of went from there. Whose Facebook
Mhm.
user I will make sure to come in 2023? That's going to be Cristobal Rivera, who has not accepted the terms from StreamYard, and that's why it says Facebook user. So for those that are Facebook members, you got to click that link so you can give the permission, so we can know who you are, because you'll only see Facebook user on the live feed, and that's live stream, people. That's live stream. But I got Facebook open, so I can go ahead and check to see who's saying what. Anyway,
Okay, cool.
I digress. Vendors. I think this is a topic that tends to split the audience. I think a lot of people feel that we don't need the vendors at the show. There's another half that want vendors at the show. Unfortunately, we need the support of the vendors to be able to provide the value that we can as much as possible. We can't have the some of the nice things that we want to try and have for you all, without being able to get commitments and partnerships from the vendors. This is why we're very specific on who we bring as vendors. Sometimes we knock it out of the park. Sometimes we miss the mark. There's a lot of things where, we love all the support that we get from the vendor community. And as I've said many, many times, it is a two-way street. We only give a damn about vendors if they give a damn about us. And quite frankly, the ones that we have brought so far, I personally believe that they do care about what we're trying to do. And for me, I think personally, one of the coolest to be able to have is, I believe this was Synchro's second show that they did this year, and they chose us to be able to do so. And we had nobody else other than Andy Cormier, who was the product director over there now. And Andy, if I butchered your title, I apologize. But being that I'm a Synchro user, me biasly want to pick his brain, because I want to see what they got coming up next. And not only him being there, but also talking to one of my team members, and also John, and being able to really just go through this conversation of what we want to do and what we're trying to do, and him being open and hearing a lot of that as well. I think the other ability for us too that was really cool is getting all of the vendors in place so they can have an intimate discussion where, we are now migrating our tools over back to Huntress and being able to utilize their platform and being able to discuss with them and figuring out what they have coming out. So that's been a really great opportunity for me to be able to talk to Huntress again, talk to Synchro, talk to Augment, who we have an account, we have everything fledged. Andy is the partner development manager because it just changed. So we appreciate that, Brian Morris, for giving us the layup. But for Augment, the plan is to implement those modules. We just haven't had the time to do so. So being able to talk to them and them giving us the opportunity to have them there as well, appreciate being able to do so. And then more importantly, I had to cash in a favor for all of us because we were pushed and told that we needed some type of cyber insurance information at this show. And none other than my good friend Larry Mador made the chump, flew on a week's notice to come out and give us this information and help us out. So hopefully people found value from him. He's a great friend of mine, has a lot of great information. The CEO has a ton of cyber insurance information and knowledge as well. So that was good to see my good friend again, because it's been a while. / hopefully that brought some value to the community as well.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I love to shout out the vendors. People don't know what goes on in the background, but some of them really stepped up. All of them we appreciate it, and I don't want this to come out the wrong way. But again, when things get a little tough and you're in a pinch or you need some support or you need some help, it's always good to have somebody to say, hey, and I won't take credit for this. These are, Paco's relationships. But when people will step up and say, hey, how can I help you? I'll do what I can to help you. And there's nothing. It's a testament to him as an MSP, but as a person, but also a testament to what's being done over here in the community. So I do want to give a shout out to all the vendors. I know I screwed it up during the show trying to name them all, but it was the end of the day and my brain was fried.
He's like, I can't read all the way over there. What does that say?
But again, we try to balance it, which I think is different than any other show. We try to balance it with great content from great vendors, and I will say this, we are picky about who comes. And like Paco says, sometimes we're gonna hit it up, we're gonna do excellent with the choices, and sometimes we're gonna miss. But we are picky about it. We try to pick people who we know can bring value to the community. It's not necessarily our job to tell you who it's not an endorsement of anyone to say, hey, buy from this guy or don't buy from this guy. If it's a product I'm using and someone asks me, I'll give them an honest answer. And if it's a product I'm using and it sucks, I'll say I used to use it, but for me it didn't work, and that doesn't mean it's not good. But I don't want to digress from the point. It is that it's a two-way street, and we do appreciate the vendors supporting us. Some of them went above and beyond and stepped up for us. Whether it be time, whether it be financial, we had sponsors for our events, our off campus. I can't think of a better word. Off-site, our off-site events, and I want to shout them out for stepping up and helping us. That's going to be Void, Threat Locker, Acronis, and Gradient. And thank you very much for that. I think everyone had a good time. We all know the parties are always popular. They help to break up the monotony, but those things again, they cost. They have to be paid for, and vendors step up and they help, and it's very important. But
I just want to add on one thing too, where for those that are attending our shows and when we make these announcements of these vendors, you want to understand one thing. We do get other vendors that want to toss us a lot of money, and we say no because we know that there is no buy-in from the community. So, and when I say that, it's an emphatic that we try to do as best as possible, even down to the point where we've surveyed the community group a couple times in the past, because we want to make sure that that's someone that we feel like is going to be accepted to come in. So I can't control the people they send, but I can tell you that as far as the businesses, we try to make a watchful eye on that. But that's my vendor spiel / love for them. I think I've beaten that dead horse enough on that route, but I'll throw it back to Rick.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, no, it's just to thank them. And we got to remember too, Vendors are just, they're people just like us. They're run by people, and some of them they just have a real genuine, desire to see the community expand, to see the community prosper, and it's not always necessarily a financial incentive behind it. Again, everyone wants to make sure that their ROI is worth it. The time you spend on something is worth it. But these are people too who just say, "Hey, I know you guys. I respect the community. I like what you guys are doing, or I like your community itself and what it stands for and the people in it, and I want to be a part of it." And we just appreciate it. So, I'm sure we beat that horse to death. But again, the whole thing is it's a give and take for all of us. The community, everyone who in the community who you call and say, "Hey, can you do this?" Or, "Hey, can I get your opinion on something?" All of those things help when it goes to putting in the show. But I had a great time. The feedback, again, like I said, the feedback we got from everyone has been positive. My three biggest critics all said it was fun, and they all said they think that everyone had a good time, and they were actually happy. None of my kids know crap about tech and don't want to be, except they use Mac, so they have to ask them how to do something in Mac every now and then. So they are my side Mac techs. But they had a good time, and they walked around and saw and listened to the conversations.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to give a shout out to the Smiths because they all had an integral part of this weekend, and we could not have done it without them. All the way down to Mama Smith, all the way down to the three babies, Taylor, Candy, and Kenzie. We appreciate you all. Definitely stepping up and what you needed to help. So that's for sure. So
yeah, it was good.
As going back to community, we did a couple things to try and make it a little bit more interactive, and a lot of shows will honor the vendors, and we did have a couple awards. One in particular, the biggest one, is the swag award, and this is a swag award that Marvin B has also, Uncle Marvin, started last year, and the reign was stolen by none other than my good friend Mike Sladowski over at Magnus Box, right? So, and that was a big win for that. But we really wanted to do something where we awarded our community, and we awarded them to have the ability to really know, that they are a part of something bigger, right? And so, one of the little thing, so this year we came out with we wanted to give shirts out, because that was a request back in the day. You don't want to know the efforts we went through to get these shirts to get to you all. And that is another drink for when we see you all at a conference here soon. But we wanted to make sure you had something to take back with you. So we had the shirts, and then, as I showed you before, we had these challenge coins. Now, the important thing about this, and we debuted them in TechCon for two reasons. One, obviously the new logo. So we have obviously our new MSP Unplugged logo we've had for a while, and then debuting the new TechCon Unplugged logo that will replace the current one that we have now. But this was actually an idea that we really wanted to bring to you all in the past. And, this was something where, I actually got the spawn of the idea from in the past, but it was actually something that Jason Percival actually brought up and said, "Hey, is there any chance we could put years on the badges?" Because, I didn't know this, and I actually had talked to Jeff as we were working through our transition and stuff, that, yeah, it's a thing to collect conference badges, which I didn't know. I toss mine out every time I go to it because, like, why am I going to keep it, right? And so, the last 2 years, because we were price conscious, we reprinted the same thing and used the same lanyard. So a lot of people didn't know what year the TechCon they attended. So not only did we put the years on it this year, which shout out to Andres Quiros over at Green Ink for printing out the lanyards, the badges, the placards. But he helped, and I had another idea, which is like, man, how cool would it be to have a challenge coin that everyone can take around with them as a collectible? And every year we introduce that. So, Andres helped us with the design of this coin. He actually helped us out with putting that in, and even down to the edge where it has September 2022. This was something that we were helpful, that we gave out to all of the attendees. We are trying to figure out if this is something that we're going to give out to our Patreon supporters. We got to figure out the logistics on that because we have quite a few left. But once they're gone, they're gone. And that's going to be the memento for you to push you to attend future TechCon Unplugged or join us as a Patreon supporter while supplies last. And this was something that was really cool. And, just from being able to see it and actually come to fruition, it was really super cool. A lot of people seem to have loved it. And hopefully, those that received it have a little bit of a memento that they can collect and keep with them on as we go through future events. The other piece that we had, which was I thought was super, super cool, was there's an unsaid thing that we do at TechCon Unplugged, and that is our donut runs. And this has started back at several different other conferences. We semi tried to do it last year, but we were just all over the place. But this year I had to make an effort, and I reached out to none other than Matt Rainey. And for those who don't know who Matt Rainey is one of the pioneering small business podcasters that was previously on Podnuts Pro. And he had developed such a big following. Everyone respects what he says and what he does. He has since stepped away from the podcast scene for a while, but was attending some of the events as a spectator, as an attendee. And what will we do? We always wanted to pick Matt Rainey's brain and figure out what he has to do. And he's like, well, we're going on a donut run. And that's kind of a thing on the inside the community that we kind of started out. So what did I do? Because Matt Rainey couldn't attend, I asked if it was all right that we can develop a Matt Rainey Donut Corner, Matt's Donut Corner. And we called him live at the show, which everyone really had a kick out of. And having him be able to speak to the audience and really try to have him reconnect with everyone was a super special moment, at least in my eyes. And for those that follow him for so many years, prior to even me being a part of podcasting, was a cool moment in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. It was just cool to have him on the phone like that, to hook him up just to tell him what we did, which was really cool.
Yep. And so, and I can't take that credit. Marvin had the idea of letting us get him a phone call. I was going to see if I can get him to record a message real quick, but that was even better. And who knows? Maybe we may have someone else as a surprise call in the future TechCon Unplugged that hasn't been around for a little bit. So we may see if we hear from a certain Michiganer that has run off to the sunset for his other endeavors. But my last piece that I think that sticks out truly for me, because I think it's kind of unsaid, but I will go ahead and say it in the air. Me and Jeff both created TechCon Unplugged back in 2019. And with Jeff gone, I wanted to try and figure out how can I put a little bit more of my identity to this event, bringing on Rick, us trying to do things our own separate way. But how do I bring a little bit of myself to this? And so, I took a bit of a gamble, and without really getting Rick's approval, and I kind of just went off and did it myself. I went ahead, and as everyone knows, and I said a little bit about this at the show, but I'm a huge wrestling buff. I've been a big WWE guy, AEW guy, like back from, WrestleMania 17, one of my most favorite WrestleManias of all time. So it's a very big culture to this day that is a big part of my identity outside of tech world. Like, if there's ever a term you ever hear about, and I forgot the book, there's an anchor, that you need an anchor to yourself that is outside of your profession, that's outside of yourself, that you can say, all right, when all chaos is happening around you, you have to have an anchor to yourself. Alcohol. Is that what it is?
It's craft beer, I bet.
A craft beer, okay. You have something that you anchor yourself into to help you stabilize yourself and bring back yourself to center, and then kind of reattack the chaos around you. And wrestling is one of them. So what I decided to introduce this year was an inaugural MSP Unplugged community champion. I think that we all give so much to the community and try and help. And I wanted to highlight someone that the entire community felt was of deserving, that really stepped up and really helped the community as much. And this was a vote we took from the entire week. This was our online community voting. It was the attendees voting. And by a big majority, it was Jason Miller over at Unbound Digital that won that award this year. So we got some really cool photos that we took. We're going to have those here shortly on the website. Jason expressed, how much he really wants to help, and really so. And we appreciate everything that he's done, not only for the community, but also for us here at MSP Unplugged. And look forward to continue collaborating with him and working with him. And I know he's more than happy to give back as long as he can, as much as he can.
And on top of that, the Millers are the luckiest people I've ever met in my life. It's a running joke. You know, it's another one of those inside jokes. If you've been to any of the past tech cons or any of the past events, you'll know that the Millers seem to always, their card seems to always be drawn out. I don't know if it's any kind of special paper they're using or they're just lucky. I remember when we started, when we got there and they were checking in, and I started laughing. I told my kids, I said, they win something every time. And they said, how? And I said, they just are just like that. And I said, it's an inside joke. And it was just funny to see my daughter's face when Jason won the headphones. It was just like, he was right. But again, it comes around, and Jason and Rachel have been big contributors to the community, and we thank you for all your efforts. And again, Jason, it was the people notice what you do and they appreciate it, and that's why you went home with the belt. Hopefully, you got that thing through security somehow, and you made it home with it. But
yeah, we got to see that on a mantle. Hopefully, we see some pictures. You got that on display. In a drawer is fine too. I get it if you're not into it too. But I think one thing that I will say about this is that everyone who provides help and feedback and such, they don't have to, right? Like everyone's running a bit. Like Jason, is running a successful IT solutions providing business. He has multiple employees. Has a family. He has, there's so many things he's got going on, and he still continues to give back. Everything like with you, Rick, and Marvin, and everyone else, all have full-time businesses, all have full-time jobs, and doing the business, have full-time jobs, business, family, and still trying to carve out a piece to help and such. And that's what's great about this community. And for those that are outside of the community in the IT industry and feel like they have no business of sharing their secrets or trying to come into a space that they have no idea in, meaning that they're from another industry similar to IT and trying to just take it for what it is because that's where they feel the dollars are. My message to you is you can take a learning lesson or two, get involved with the community, because once you're inside, there is no competition. There's enough work for everybody. And whether you're in the same place here, we partner with several other MSPs that are in the area that literally are blocks away, because we all understand that there's so much for everyone. And that's kind of what everyone here has been trying to do as well. So that's kind of my message for all that. I think that we've pretty much covered a lot about TechCon Unplugged 2022. Any lasting words on 2022 before we give a little quick snippet of 2023?
It's over. It's over. But no, just a quick thank you to everyone. And I was glad to see some new faces. I hope we get to see more in the coming years. But I hope those new faces took a lot out of it, gained something from it. And I hope to see you as part of the Facebook community. If you're not a part, please send us an email so we can definitely grab you in so you can contribute and also learn. And that's really it. We've beat TechCon to death, and 2022 is in the books. We did our best. We learned some lessons. But it was a good time. I'm glad to be a part of this. So again, just thank you to everyone, from participants to vendors, attendees. Even the people at the hotel were great. I gotta thank them too. So it was all a good time. And with that, I'm gonna leave TechCon 2022 behind.
So you make a good point. So for those that have purchased a ticket, remember, you do get a year, quote unquote, subscription to the online community. So if you've purchased a ticket and you are not in the Facebook online community group, send us an email at info@mspunplugged.com. Or if you know me and Rick, we'll send you the link and we'll get you in there. But it's important to have you in there because we're growing, we're scaling, we're going from there. And those who did not attend TechCon Unplugged, we do have our Patreon group that you can go ahead and contribute. Right now, it's $1 a show. I guess we're going to announce now because I've been meaning to do this for a while and I haven't had a chance to. It will go probably either in the next month or to the year. We will be changing the tiers. There will be a flat fee that will be go for a monthly versus it being per episode. More to come on that. So buy a ticket, it's a flat fee there. You get your year subscription, and then you got all the fun stuff that goes inside there as well. So that will be coming here soon. A little bit about 2023. I think we kind of made this suggestion and or not suggestion. It's fact. We just got to figure out some of the logistics, but we always ask this question every year. I had a feeling I knew everyone was going to say the same question. Me and Jeff, after every end of TechCon, we will always ask, did you like it? And should we come back? And every person, not just maybe one hand was like, this was trash. No, every person always raises their hand to say they want to come back. They want to experience this bigger and better. So as officially, and we assumed this was going to be the case, we did announce at TechCon 2022 that we will be in, I don't know. I feel like I say this city and I feel so dirty because it's not the city we're going to be in. So, because I'm a big person where it's like, if they say Chicago and they're somewhere else all the way in Lincolnshire, or if they're in,
we were in Rosemont, man. We weren't in Chicago.
That's my point. We were in, not Lincolnshire, Rosemont, right. It's by the airport and such. It's right there, but so we're advertising it as TechCon Unplugged New York, but it's actually in Jersey. We haven't got the location as of yet. But 2023, mark your calendars, September 8th through the 10th, unless the hotels tell us that those days are not available. But September 8th to the 10th, that is where we're going to be at.
That's the week. That's the date. That's
the dates of that weekend. Put them on your calendar. We will be in Jersey. We're going to have a great time. And without that, my last piece before we sign off this air here is Rick Smith. I appreciate you as my brother. I appreciate you coming to me on this endeavor. I know you didn't have to when I was in a bit of a pinch back in November when everybody left me, and then who they are. I've mentioned their names. One of them came back, and I appreciate them for coming back. But all in all, I appreciate you coming on this endeavor. Appreciate you as my brother. Appreciate you as my business partner, and I couldn't do it without you. And I will say that. Other than that, those are my final words. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. If you enjoyed this episode, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. You can watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged, facebook.com/MSP Unplugged. Also, hashtag MSP Unplugged on LinkedIn. We're in there somewhere on Twitter. We're expanding. We're growing. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Be notified whenever an episode is available. You can also take us with you on the go on your favorite podcatcher app. We're on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.